if we do these things in the correct way and we look at those opportunities, whether it's, through some sort of accreditation at the Dan Dybert Career Tech Center, or if it's through a community college degree or a college degree, it's how are we advancing the capabilities of the citizens of Arlington and creating for them a more prosperous life. And if we can create for them a more prosperous life, it'll allow us to attract others and to build on that and make our community stronger.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the ATMA Podcast, where we give you the tips, tools, and strategies you need to be successful. Today, we have a very special guest, a true leader in our business community here in Arlington. Joining us today is Michael Jacobson, President and CEO of the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce. Michael has served in this role since 2016, leading Arlington's oldest and largest business organization, representing more than 1,000 businesses and nonprofits. Under his leadership, the Chamber champions economic and community prosperity by bringing together public and private sector partners to identify trends, solve challenges, and create long-term opportunity. Before Arlington, Michael held senior leadership roles at Intel, where he led corporate responsibility, strategic alliances, and site development initiatives across the U.S. and globally. His career also includes leadership within the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce and service at the federal level within Washington, D.C. In addition to leading the Chamber, Michael serves as the chair of the Arlington Economic Development Corporation and sits on numerous nonprofit and civic boards, making him one of the most influential voices in the region's business and economic landscape. Michael, welcome to the ATMA Podcast. We're excited to have you here, but before we get started, let's say thank you to our sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by NuvoDesk Co-working, the home of Arlington's most accessible production-ready podcast studio. Whether you're launching your first show or leveling up your content game, NuvoDesk gives you a professional studio environment where you can walk in, hit record, and create. But NuvoDesk is more than just a podcast room. It's fully equipped business hub with private offices, conference rooms, and workshop and event spaces designed to help you host, collaborate, and grow. If you're ready to elevate your brand, your business, or your voice, book your next recording or your next tour at nuvodesk.com. Create here, work here, build here. Today's episode is brought to you by Nuvio, the all-in-one business platform designed to help you build, manage, and scale with confidence. With Nuvio, you can build your own website in minutes, manage all of your leads and customers through a powerful CRM. And if you're in the restaurant industry, you can run your entire operations using Nuvio's modern point-of-sale system. Whether you're a startup, a service provider, or a full-scale restaurant, Nuvio gives you everything you need in one place. Simple, connected, and built to grow with you. Discover why entrepreneurs are switching to Nuvio. Visit Nuvio.com and run your entire business on one platform. Well, welcome back, everybody. And like I said, we have a very special guest, Michael Jacobson, the CEO of the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce. And like I said about the show, this show is about helping businesses and organizations build, launch, grow, and scale. And before we did this podcast, it astonished me how closely it is to the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce's framework, which is grow, foster, amplify, and develop. So Michael Jacobson, thank you for being on the show with us. Say hello to everybody and tell us who you are. And sure. I mean, I kind of did that already, but
you did. Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. And I'm the CEO of the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce. We have over 1,000 members like Advent Trinity, and our strength as an organization is the bringing together of those members who then work in common purpose to try to achieve greater things.
That's awesome. And Advent Trinity has benefited from the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce. We were just on a case study show just yesterday with Brian Weatherford talking about our story, and it's true. I mean, everything that we've done with the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce has heavily helped us grow our organization and business. And it's so funny that when we were putting this together, how close it was to your framework. So can you tell me a little bit more about your framework?
Sure. So I've had the opportunity to be involved with a lot of chambers, as as a corporate representative sitting on the board of chambers. And, during that time, it became clear to me that as you look at all these different chambers, the thing that they have in common in the Arlington chamber back before I got here, similar, there's really 4 key things that a chamber does. Mm-hmm. They help our members both grow their business and grow themselves professionally. Mm-hmm. We work to foster overall economic growth because the economy grows, we all benefit. We amplify the voice of business, which means we bring power to business by bringing 1,000 people together so that if we go and talk to the city or the state or the federal government, that voice has been amplified and is stronger. And then if you're a good chamber, you're going to worry about developing the future. So what are we doing to make the future better? And for our chamber, that really means workforce development, education, and work with the nonprofit communities is how we do that. But I think those 4 things should be core to every chamber.
Right. Well, you've been a part of a lot of organizations and nonprofits, and you've seen them kind of do what we said here is build, launch, grow, and scale. Mm-hmm. And, you're talking about that. What do you believe is the fundamental foundation for any city, any business, any organization to help them create a foundation to help them grow economically and have that momentum?
All right. Now, I'm going to do this more on a city, but then we'll see how we can relate it back. Okay. So I think, key for a community are a couple of things. You need to have good infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Education matters. The cost of business needs to be reduced as much as you can. You want the cost of living to be reasonable. You want a great quality of life around that, so you don't want it just to be really inexpensive, but then you don't invest in parks or other things, so the quality of life suffers.
Right.
You want to balance all these things the best you can, tax, regulatory, the ease of doing business. All of those things really matter in helping drive a community. And then this notion of having civic will. So this willingness to come together and do bigger things is really important. So there are communities that have good infrastructure and they have okay education, but the community never gets together in any sort of common will. Mm-hmm. And so they can't move the ball forward because they can't agree on what forward is.
Right.
So for businesses, understanding what forward is critically important. Where am I trying to go? What's my vision and what's my mission? And then how do I take the resources that I need and pull them together to achieve maximum result? Mm-hmm. And in that regard, that's similar to a city or a community. There are those similarities.
Awesome. Yeah. You kind of said something too. I think that is important for businesses because in a community, you want not just businesses, but the where they're living, being part of the community, civic duty, that kind of things. And I think that's also important for a business, right? To have a culture where the employees and the team, they have a purpose and they're on the same mission and vision, but they're also on a vision and mission to help people and help the community and be a part of that community.
I had the pleasure of being very young. I joke, I must have been 12 at the time, but I got to work for President Reagan. And President Reagan used to say that that communities are only as good as the businesses located there, right? Wow. That business matters. Mm-hmm. Okay. Some people will take the polar opposite view, but it's not really polar opposite, but that says a business is only as good as the community it's located in. But you take those two statements, and the one thing that is common in those two statements is that the community and business are connected. Right. The success of a community is going to rely on both. They're intrinsically involved. Whoever you put leading, but the reality is, if you want to have a prosperous community, mm-hmm. you need strong businesses and you need a vibrant community. Mm-hmm. Those two things you need to bring hand in hand. And when you do, it's pretty powerful.
That's awesome. And, it's funny is that it kind of leads us to the next question is like you're bringing businesses. You're part of the Arlington Economic Development Corporation, and part of your job is to bring these type of businesses to Arlington. And so, what would you say is like some of the strategies that you put together, whether that's infrastructure, workforce, the type of strategy to help fill in those gaps that if they're saying, well, I'm not sure Arlington's where I want to go, right? And so, how do you explain the fundamental foundation of Arlington?
Well, so one is you're really telling the story, and you're telling the story with data, right? You're showing them the capabilities that we have that will minimize those holes. Whenever you make a move, there's likely going to be some gap of some sort, right? It's a new place you're going to, but you tell the story about infrastructure, you tell the story about education, you tell the story about workforce, and all the ways that you have to provide the resources to help that business be successful. That's part of what you do during the recruitment phase. And of course, again, if you're smart at doing economic development, the story that you're telling them is a factual story.
Right.
Right. So those pieces are there, and you're steering them to where they can get the support that they need. And so, when you move in, there could be gaps around workforce. We have an unbelievable infrastructure to create workforce, whether it's our K through 12 and, the Dan Dipert Career Tech Center, whether it's our community college, whether it's University of Texas at Arlington, or one of the other universities in the region, or the trade schools in the region. We've got Texas Workforce Solutions. So I can spill all that out, right? So one of the things the chamber can be really helpful with is just helping a company that moves in understand the community that they've moved into, how it works, how it fits together, right? Because every city, every community is slightly different. So how do you come into that community to be successful? The good news is I don't have to create workforce solutions. I don't have to create UTA. It's there.
Yeah.
Or TCC. So how do we just help them see the structure that exists within the city and guide them so they learn to operate in the environment that they moved into? Every community has a different operating environment. So, it's not always hard stuff. Sometimes it's the soft skills that can really help a company make that transition and be successful in that transition.
That's awesome. And it's funny you say that looking at the data, and something that we do here is when we teach people how to market and thinking about the psychology of how people make decisions, right? You want to go into, we call it the gain, logic, fear. And so what are we gaining, which is the value of the place that, or the product or service that you're presenting, the logic, right? Does this logically make sense? And like you said, hey, you got to look at the data, right? You got to look at the data. And then finally is the fear, which is a fear of missing out, is who else is interested? And if I don't do this, then who else is going to come into place, right? And so it's kind of funny how you started with data and it kind of just led into some things that we've been teaching here.
Well, they're similar. I don't know if we deal a lot in fear. I understand when you're when you're selling a product and you've got a lot of potential competition, and then there's customers and how you try to close that deal. I get it. I don't know how much we deal in fear because, I think we probably deal more than in opportunity.
Right.
But I think there always is a recognition, right? At the end of the day, there's only so many deals we can do. There's only so much land. There's only so many buildings.
Yeah.
So do you want to be a part of us? Come be a part of us.
So we get into launching, right? And the chamber hosts a lot of events, right? And it's impressive, to be honest with you. And you have some major initiatives. How do you think about launching opportunities for businesses so they're not just attending events, but actually activating relationships?
Okay. We have a lot of networking events. And the one thing that I always tell people is networking is great. Building trusted relationships is better. So if somebody comes to me and they say, boy, I'm a people person, you ought to hire me. I'm a people person. I'll say, well, what matters to me more? I said, you're talking to me with language that doesn't, connect with me, even though I am a people person. Right. It's like, no, what you need to tell me is you know how to build trusted relationships, and through those trusted relationships, you know how to achieve results.
That's awesome.
Okay, that matters. So the one thing I tell people all the time, even at our networking events, don't just go around and shake hands and build buddies.
Mm-hmm.
You want friends.
Right.
But at the same time, you need to understand why you're there and what you're trying to achieve, and then using those relationships to achieve those goals. Doesn't mean, by the way, you come in and you immediately just, browbeat people because you're trying to sell some product. And that's going to turn them off.
Right. No.
But as you build your relationship, have a purpose for that relationship that's going to get you to the result you want to get to. You are representing a business or a nonprofit or somebody, so you need to keep their interest in mind. We've added over the last couple of years a lot of small business development tools. It's important that you engage in those exercises as well and come to our professional development. Go to our website, look at what's there to help support small businesses. I'm really excited. We're about to bring the Small Business Development Center back into the chamber.
That's awesome.
Which is great. So that'll provide great support. And so you're creating things around. The one thing we say is, look, we brought, and I should know the number off the top of my head, but it was somewhere around 25,000 people together last year. Okay, that's a lot of people. Maybe more than that. I can't, but it's a lot. But we should always bring people together for a purpose.
Right.
What's the purpose behind bringing people? So State of the City. What's the purpose of 800 people going to State of the City? Well, it's hearing from the mayor and understanding the strategic direction of the community you live in, and then coming together with a lot of celebration and joy at all the positive things that have happened, but also understanding where the challenges exist and how do we come together to maybe improve and maybe resolve those challenges. So there's a purpose to going to State of the City beyond, hey, I've got 50 friends that are going to be there. I can't wait to shake their hands and see them and hang out with them.
Yeah.
So all of our events like that, we try to have a purpose for them. And I would tell anybody attending one of our events, have a purpose when you attend the event. Think of 5 people that you want to meet that you didn't know, and use that event to meet them.
Right.
Put a scorecard up there for yourself and hold yourself to it. So actually come up, even sometimes, here's the 3 specific people I want to meet.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, did I meet these 3 people?
Yeah.
Score yourself on it. So that way it starts moving people to activating versus just sitting back and enjoying.
Yeah. It's funny you say that too, because obviously I'm a member, so I've gone through this right before. And one thing that I learned early on as a chamber member is, like you said, hey, don't try to don't try to go off and meet people and try to sell, because when you do that, you're only going to come off wrong, right? And so the best thing to do is like you said, build relationships. I can't tell you how, just this podcast alone, this is a relationship building tool. Having lunch with people is a relationship building tool. Not necessarily trying to sell them your product or service, is just getting to know them as people, right?
Sure.
And then finding similarities, like how, we have like a little fantasy football league in our, and some of the chamber members, and it's fun. It's just, hey, we get to have this competitive spirit with fantasy football. It takes us away from that, hey, we know we're all business people and we have businesses to grow, but people only buy from people they know, like, and trust, right?
I think you're right. And I tell people this, some people are, maybe they're more introverted, maybe they're sometimes nervous walking into a large room, and how do I have a conversation with someone, and what am I telling them? And I said, well, here's the cool thing. You don't actually have to tell them anything. Just ask them.
Yeah.
Ask them who they are. Ask them what challenges that they have. What great successes do they have? Engage them and get them to answer questions. You just need to care about the person you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you care about the person you're talking to and you learn something about them, somewhere here in your mind should be, all right, well, how do I help them meet whatever that challenge, or how do I help them extend that opportunity that they have? But if you do it based on them first,
right,
then I think the success is will come your way. If you approach any chamber and it's all about you, chances are, and you've seen it because it's happened at our chamber, people will sniff that out.
Yep.
And they probably will end up in some ways pushing you.
Yep.
Maybe not out, but pushing you to the side. And the good news is we don't have much of that, right? We have a really, really good culture within our chamber, a welcoming, supporting culture. So
yeah, and I think you have to be intentional, right? You have to be intentional with truly wanting to help the other person, not necessarily with the product or service that you have. Right. And I think that's the art of networking too, is like you meet so many people and you're like, well, actually, I could connect you with this person because this person can help you. And then that person is going to be like, wow, he or she didn't help me directly, but he connected me to somebody. Now it's like, I want to help them. Right. And it becomes a helping community. And that's what I think that's what the chamber is all about.
Well, and when you talk about what gaps do corporations, like if someone moves here, the gaps that they have, the earlier question you asked, the reality is these two things are in common. What you really, if you can become a connector.
Yep.
Right. If you can help connect, as I mentioned earlier, that company to the services that are out there. And it's amazing how much people value somebody who can connect them to things that'll bring them value.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it kind of goes back to your mission statement. Together, we champion economic and community prosperity. And I think we're making some edits here in the next future, right? To your.
Well, we're going to add a vision statement.
Okay.
We're not changing, because to me the mission statement still works. As you say, if our mission statement, which is together we champion economic community prosperity, how are we going to do that? We're going to help our members grow. We're going to foster overall economic growth. We're going to amplify the voice of business. We're going to develop the future.
Right.
That structure works really, really well. What we did just go through was a process of sort of what's our long-term vision. Where are we trying to go? And we have language, and this language won't be exactly correct, but it'll be close. Which is, we really want to support Arlington becoming the city to create a bright future.
Right.
And I emphasize not just one of many. We want, when people look at Arlington, they see Arlington as a place they can go to develop for them and their family a bright future. And that's a big goal for a chamber. I mean, it's a big vision for a chamber, but to me, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's why we want that mission statement. That's why we do those 4 buckets underneath our strategic objectives. It's all about creating bright futures.
Yeah.
And when a city begins to be thought of as a place where you can achieve. And I know the city, they're the American dream city, which is similar, right? You can come achieve the American dream, but I want anybody who's coming out of college, somebody who's 45 years old and making a career transition, wants to go somewhere different. I want them to bring their talents to Arlington. I want them to see us as a place to have a bright future. For a kid who's in elementary school right now and maybe is not in the best circumstances in their life, have whatever struggles that they have and struggles in front of them, I want them to realize that if they do stay here, work hard, develop, that there is a bright future for them. Hope is an incredibly powerful tool, but you need to be hoping for something. So to me, if we can get them to hope for that bright future and they see that it's accessible in Arlington, so whether you live here, whether you move here, or whether you're with a company, or whether you're looking for, a place in the United States or in the world where you believe that's possible, I want that to be Arlington.
Yeah. It's funny because I was born and raised here. I went through my entire life in Arlington. So went to Blanton, which we know what's going on there. But then I transitioned to Duff. Went to Bailey Junior High, Arlington High, UTA, and it's interesting to now be out of the education system, working, building a business, selling the business, to the new owner, Charlie Pham, and but still giving back to the community. I can't count how many times we've reached out and to UTA students, TCC students, UNT students, right, beyond Arlington, which is the greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce, and just giving back to those students and investing in them, because at the end of the day, they're the future, right? They're the future. And so you have, we talked a little bit about, the vision, how now that you're going to be, you had the short term, which is the mission statement. Now we're doing the long term. So for business owners listening who feel stuck or plateaued, what role can the Chamber of Commerce realistically play in helping them break through the next level?
Well, I think where we can be helpful is potentially giving them some skills that maybe they don't have through professional development. Maybe we can help them make a connection with someone who will help them break through. Maybe we could create a support system that is there and encourages. A lot of times there are people who don't break through because at some point they're emotionally not there, right? They've struggled. So having a support system that's there, wanting you to succeed and pushing you, I think we can help in that regard, and certainly connect you to players that can help you. Now, I do say this, that if you have a flawed business strategy, chances are we're not going to fix that.
Okay.
You could come in and you could meet somebody who could say, hey, you're kind of doing, but you ought to, maybe have you thought about this? You've probably done that before with people.
I have.
Have you thought about this?
Yep.
And it changes the course, but sometimes there are people who come into the chamber and they think I'm going to join and everything is going to be great. Yeah. But they don't engage.
Yep.
They don't change whatever was causing challenges to begin with. And because they don't engage and because they don't change, what do you think happens? Their business doesn't succeed. It's a very, very difficult, it's a difficult thing. But I do believe that if you're there and you're working hard and you've gotten to a point and you're trying to get to the next level, well, having people around you who can help you understand what that next level looks like, who are the players that need to be involved from a strategic standpoint. If you go to a networking group and you've been involved in networking groups and you build relationships with a group of people, they all become your business advisors to some extent. You ought to tap into them and not be afraid to use them that way.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you need that a bit of knowledge to help you. But we can also connect you to people at UTA who maybe are experts in a particular area that could help you think through your process. We have business coaches. Those business coaches can help you as well. So a whole group of ways.
That's awesome. It's funny, you said that you touched on two things. One, our vision statement at Advent is to change the world through innovation and inspire businesses to grow. And part of that route to inspire businesses to grow is because business is never going to be, always smooth sailing. There's always going to be bumps in the road. It doesn't matter if you're scaling. It doesn't matter if you're startup. Like, you're always going to have something that hits you, and you're like, man, how do I get over this and plateau? And so to build a community where we're partners in that, and to help them, inspire them, saying, hey, you got to keep going, right? We know it's hard right now, but you got to keep going. And it's the similar at the chamber. It's like, hey, we're building a community that we're gonna hold each other accountable, but not just accountable. We're gonna lift each other up when we're down, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, I've built relationships in the chamber with some friends that when I have, and these conversations, they just happen. Like, we'll be talking about football or we'll be talking about food, and next thing you know, it's like, hey, have you tried this? And then that conversation turns into like a business advice conversation, right? And I'll be honest with you, I've implemented some of that advice with my company, and it's helped us. There's somebody who's going to be on the show later this year who really helped me start up the webinars, and he grew his business just completely doing webinars. And so I was just like, how did you do that? And so he kind of gave me some advice, and we started doing webinars, and all of a sudden we started getting some leads and business. So I think it's important that that you are building those relationships and using that advisory council for your business. It's just going to happen naturally if you're helping each other, right?
I think if you understand, what your strengths are and what you know well, and the areas that you don't, and in those areas that you don't know as well, you're not afraid to ask somebody. So if you don't know marketing, social media, right? Well, there's Brian sitting right over there, and he does. So, he's someone I can rely on. And then there are other companies as well in the chamber, right? That someone could go to. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask, and understand where you're not an expert, and look for people who are. And then where you are an expert, share that information, right? Then it becomes this ecosystem of support that's really powerful.
Absolutely. So, we're going to go into the Amplify. One of the Chamber's key strategies is amplifying the voice of the business. How does advocacy and public policy play into scaling not just individual companies, but the entire, regional economy? Okay.
Well, I think it's important from a business standpoint to be in a city. We'll do the city first. In a city that cares about business, that's passionate about business, and if you're really lucky, works at the speed of business. Right? So that's really important. So for us to be there as a chamber, being a voice for our businesses, to our elected officials, to our city staff, whether it's in Arlington or Pantego or Dalworthington Gardens, on the local level, us being a voice to help guide that. There's a real value and a real strength to that. This is back a while ago. There was an issue in Arlington about grease traps. I won't go into it. But if we could pull a bunch of businesses together to have a good conversation with the city to figure out what a solution is that works for the city and works for what, they're required to do from a code standpoint, but simplifies the process and lowers the cost, that's a win for everybody.
Right.
Right. So that's one of the ways amplifying the voice matters. And you can see it. One of the big priorities for us in this last legislative session in Austin was on water infrastructure. All right, so water infrastructure in Arlington, we're pretty well served by water. It's not a huge issue for us. So why would our chamber care about that? Well, for the state of Texas, it is an issue. You don't have to go far west of Fort Worth to start running into water supply challenges. So if we want this economy in Texas to continue to grow, we know that we've got to invest in infrastructure. Otherwise, the growth that we want chokes the growth in the future, right? Because you're not meeting that growth with the right amount of infrastructure to support it. So we made water infrastructure because we could see that was a challenge that wasn't being addressed fully and would impact the state's ability to continue to grow. We need to get ahead of that and address it. So it becomes one of our top policies as a chamber. We meet with our legislators and we meet with people during the session, and we share with them our priorities and who our members are. In some instances, we didn't do it on this particular issue. We'll actually have our members write letters. So you find ways to engage them, but there's more power in together than there is alone.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're looking, Pat, for the next 5 to 10 years, what excites you most of Arlington's trajectory, and what should business leaders be doing right now to prepare for what's coming next?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish I had a great answer for it. Okay, so Arlington is developing and changing. You know, we're 99 square miles. We don't have a lot of real estate left. Mm-hmm. So for us, we're really a community that's going to have to redevelop.
Yeah.
So I think what's really important for us looking forward is, what does that look like? Who are we wanting to be? What do we want to do with the land that we have, and that needs to be redeveloped? How do we do that in a way that serves the overall direction that we want to move? Mm-hmm. For me, I want to see us continue to recruit as many high-paying jobs as we can. I would love to see within Arlington over the next 10 years, our buying power increase, our income of our citizens increase. So bringing in high-paying jobs matters.
Right.
This bright future, you know, I want to see Arlington have a vibrant community of 25 to 45-year-olds, right? People who are starting their careers and growing their careers. I want to make sure that Arlington is a community where they're building in their lives, and like Arlington did 50 years ago, mm-hmm. you know, or 30 years ago or 20 years ago. How are we feeding that to make sure that there's that opportunity across the board? If we do these things in the correct way, and we look at those opportunities, whether it's, you know, through some sort of accreditation at the Dan Dipert Career Tech Center, or if it's through a community college degree or a college degree, it's how are we advancing the capabilities of the citizens of Arlington and creating for them a more prosperous life. And if we can create for them a more prosperous life, it'll allow us to attract others and to build on that and make our community stronger. Now, all that said, look, there's going to be more hotels built. There's going to be more stuff in the entertainment district. We're going to have an unbelievable amount of events that put our city, you know, on the global scene, from the World Cup to Grand Prix, but, you know, going out into the future, the Final Four, you know, college basketball tournament. Believe me, we're going to continue to do big things in Arlington that put us on very much on the global scene.
Right.
And so you're going to see a lot of those sort of things being announced. You're going to see our downtown continue to develop dramatically. You're going to see the entertainment district continue to evolve and be a place that not only do you go there for events or games, you live there. Yeah. You eat there. Right? You'll see all this in the next 10 years. Downtown and the entertainment district begin to grow together in this holistic ecosystem that supports some really cool stuff and generates tax revenue that then benefits the entire city. So that will happen.
Okay.
The question is, with all that good stuff happening, I live in South Arlington. By the way, there's all kinds of great growth going on in South Arlington, East Space, the airport, great economic development strategy down there. But anyway, wherever I live, what does all this stuff mean to me? And what I will tell folks is it means that you're getting a lot more value because we're having people from outside of Arlington pay taxes in Arlington, which is allowing us to use those tax dollars to do good things for people living in Arlington. But with that, you also want people to see, but what does it mean to me in my future? Great, all that's going on, but I'm having trouble finding a job.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm a kid in school and my parents are having trouble. So we just need to make sure that looking out 10 years, that we are that community focused on a bright future for everybody that lives in Arlington. And how do we help them achieve that? And everything we do, there needs to be a strategic purpose in achieving that.
That's wonderful. That's awesome. Well, there you have it. We had Michael Jacobson, CEO of the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce, with us. Thank you again for being on the show. And it's been an honor. And it's been an honor because we're a part of this community. We've grown. We've gone to school here in Arlington, and just to be a part of this journey and to be a part of your journey, Michael Jacobson, as the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. It's been an honor, and we thank you for being on the show, guys. We thank you guys for listening in. Once again, my name is Brian, CEO, co-founder of Advocacy Marketing Agency, and we will see you next time.